Well, we're back for episode 2
yes, it
of
is
FDT.
Episode 2 of FDT, and we are in beautiful Shiny Top right now.
Yes.
Yes. Why are we in Shiny Top right now?
Well, several reasons.
Yes.
One, this is a Sunday afternoon, and it's closed, which is a benefit to us. We can have a quiet space to record our podcast. Shiny Top has also been a really long-time member of the Fort Dodge Fine Arts, one of our first, well, I should say since the revamp of Fort Dodge Fine Arts, the rebranding about 10 years ago. And then when Shiny Top opened, they snuck right in and got on board with Fort Dodge Fine Arts. We helped them with their live music booking. We helped them coordinate their artwork that's on the wall every 3 months. When they have special events, we'll always help out with whatever they need. And somehow we suckered Nate McCubbin into being our vice president.
He's around here somewhere.
And so he's been an invaluable member of the board of directors. Anytime we've had a crazy idea and we need a place to do it, he's always like, yes, you can do it here. So I just thought this was the perfect spot. And it's also the spot where this whole kind of idea of a podcast came to fruition.
Yeah, we talked about that in episode 1, which if you haven't listened to episode 1, go check it out wherever you can find podcasts. It's on Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association's YouTube channel. It's on Audible Farm's YouTube channel. And if you just search FDT on any podcasting service, I'm sure you'll find it. So,
what does FDT stand for, Peter?
Fort Dodge, a thoughtful exchange about the arts.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's it.
Yes, we started strong. And then ended strong. Very strong. So yes, this is episode number 2, and we have some visitors with us for episode number 2. Who do we got with us today, Shelly?
Well, today we are highlighting the 515 Big Band, which is a fairly new, I guess, is this year 2?
Yeah, year 2.
Full year 2 of the 515 Big Band here in Fort Dodge. And so I have 3 members, the director, founder, I guess.
Yeah, founder would be good.
Yeah.
Director, no, we all do that.
So I'm just going to kind of go one by one. So I will let you introduce yourself and your role with the organization.
Okay, I'm Tiffany Nelson. I guess my role with the organization is organizer. I get all of the dates put together. I get all of the personnel put together. Start rehearsals, help with rehearsals. We kind of split that bill all the way around, but that's kind of what I do.
Okay, and I mean, this man really needs no introduction, but I'm going to have
All right,
him
we're not
do
going to
it
introduction. Guess who it is by just his voice, if you're listening.
Okay, well, the name's Dan Cassady. In the 515 band, I play in the trombone section. And that's really all I do.
That's so not true, but okay, we'll go with that for now.
And I'm Paul Bloomquist, and I also play in the trombone section.
Oh, nice.
I should maybe say I play in the group.
You do also play.
I am the utility player of the front row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that mean for the people that have no clue what a utility
So
player
that means
is?
normally I play alto sax. It's
Okay.
just a matter of if I play lead or if I play second, or if we have a tenor sax player gone, I sit that depending on who I can bring in for a substitute. So utility player.
Nice.
We like to call it utility sax.
Okay.
That's Paul being funny.
Yes. You couldn't tell.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah,
Paul Bloomquist. He's going to be here for the next hour.
he is.
And my microphone will get shut off in about 5 minutes.
It
We'll
was
see what happens.
actually a discussion Paul and I were having here about, I think, the Karl King Band at the time. And he just was sharing some stories that I'd never heard before. And it just got me thinking about all of these different organizations and ways the Fort Dodge Fine Arts can continue to help support and promote those groups.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it in what will be yesterday's episode of the Audible Farm podcast, how much Fort Dodge Fine Arts does for, the community, the surrounding community, the businesses, and even just the people, musicians. I mean, it's really a great cause. So if you haven't checked any of that out, there are links in the descriptions for that. So
I hope there's no one that hasn't checked that out.
well, they know now. They know now.
So some things with 515 that I definitely wanted to cover with you guys today was, and I also want to talk about your personal involvement in instrumental, specifically music, in the area. But let's stick with 515 Big Band for now. Why? Why 515 Big Band, yeah.
So I was up in Northwest Iowa for the first 15 years of my career. And then I met Steve and moved down here. And I wasn't doing any playing because nobody knew I played, nobody knew I sang, nobody knew I did anything other than band directing. And one of my huge loves is jazz, teaching jazz, playing jazz. It's just all jazz. And talking to some of the friends, sitting at this table, but other friends too that are part of the group, there wasn't an outlet for jazz in Fort Dodge at the point that I moved here. So I started, brainstorming some things, and we started putting it together. Like, could this really happen? Could we do it? Would it be supported? Do we have enough players? And I was kind of mad that I wasn't playing. Like, I really wanted to get out there and let people know, that I could play, but more important that we could play. And once we got all the names put together, we had a couple people that were like, this person can play, let's do this. Yes, it's going to be a go. We put it together. It was hey, you guys want to do this? And it was an instant yes from everybody that I asked. And the 515 name came because we wanted to just keep it the 515 area code. We wanted it to keep the players to be from around the area here, and it's kind of ventured off from there. We're bringing in players from Creston, we're bringing in players from the other side of Iowa, we're bringing in players from Des Moines, we're bringing in players from everywhere now. So
nice.
It's kind of moved to that. So it was a want from a few of us, and it was a need for Fort Dodge, as jazz wasn't really tapped into for a long time. And they said, let's do it. So we did it.
Nice.
I love that you said I was mad about not playing, and so I created a really awesome group.
It's the way my world works.
How about you, Dan? What was exciting for you about this project?
Well, I guess I would start by providing a little history, since
great.
I'm the oldest person here.
The 515 historian.
Well, I moved to Fort Dodge in the late 70s. And there was a Fort Dodge Big Band here.
Okay.
And it was awesome. Paul and I were talking about this briefly before we started. His college band director was in it. Jack Oates was running it, and he is one of the most famous jazz educators from Iowa. He's the main guy that helped start jazz education in schools. He started the Jazz Contest Festival. And he's very well known. So he was running this Fort Dodge Big Band, and the band was just loaded with really great players. Reggie Shive, Ralph Drollinger, John Erickson, Tex Dean, and I was teaching, first of all, up north, but I had friends around the area, and I got to know the art scene in Fort Dodge at that time. And in a few years, I moved here, and luckily I got a chance to play not only in the big band, but in the other groups here. And I've always said there's probably more happening here per capita than any place, with the symphony and the choral society and Comedia Musica Players.
Karl King.
Karl King Band. Okay, community theater. Yeah, it's great. So. Where was I going with this? Okay, so I got to play in the big band, and we practiced on Sundays like every other Sunday, and then we would go around. We didn't play in Fort Dodge that much, but we would go around to different communities and play concerts. We had a Des Moines connection because the piano player was Don East from Des Moines, and the elite trombone player at that time was a guy by the name of Toad Stewart, who was probably one of the best, if not the best, jazz trombone player I have ever heard. And it was just exciting to get to Des Moines, and we played the country clubs and all this. Anyway, this goes on for the first years that I lived here, and for a variety of reasons, it folded. One of which is that it's hard to keep a band that size going. Tiffany would agree with that, because there's schedules. There's a lot of teachers in the group, people from all walks of life, different professions, and everybody's a professional musician. And there's territory bands, and everybody's working with bands. So, for one reason or another, that band folded, and for a few years, there wasn't a big band. Ralph Drollinger started it again, and we went for a few years. He got us to the Iowa Bandmasters Association convention as one of the featured bands. But soon after that, it folded again, and years and years and years went by. Because Tiffany's right, there was just no opportunity for big band playing in Fort Dodge. And from time to time, some people would say, "Hey, let's start a big band," and that's as far as it went. Yeah. Okay, but thankfully, Tiffany really took control and got this thing going.
Yeah, nice.
That's wild.
I have a lot of questions about what he just said.
I mean, it's fun when you're like, okay, so what's happened over the last 40 years? And someone's just like, yeah, here it is in 3 minutes. It's like, that's not enough time. That's not enough time at all.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that there was anything big band related in Fort Dodge.
Yeah, or that it went away and came back. There must have been a desire for it if it came back.
Well, it's not uncommon for communities to have big bands. In Okoboji, there's 2. Mm-hmm. And in Des Moines, there's a great band. The Des Moines Big Band. In Cedar Rapids, there's at least 2 big bands. So there's a lot of communities that have big bands because it's big bands have been around for about 100 years. And then in the 30s, that's when the swing era started, and they got really popular. And they got kind of replaced by smaller groups with bebop, modal, cool jazz, hard bop, and stuff like that. But big bands have always, since for 100 years, we've always had big bands, and like from Clarinda, Glenn Miller led one of the most popular big bands of all time. So they're around. It just takes somebody to organize everybody and
to herd the cats
and do the work to do that, and we appreciate that a lot.
That's wild. I mean, it's crazy to hear you talk about like all the different styles of music that kind of like came and went over the years. What replaced what? It's almost like you taught this stuff or something.
Yes, they're all educators as well. Clearly, Paul. What about for you? What was it about this new organization?
It's a situation that the right people and the right places were in the right timing. Meaning, I'll never forget working in the Comedia Pit, and the idea was coming, and we were forming it more or less. And I say we, really, is Tiffany, and I can even go back to names on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And looking at it going, yeah, that'd make a nice band. That would work. Yeah. But then the fact that the Fine Arts, Fort Dodge Fine Arts, in conjunction with Phillips Middle School, now Phillips Luxury Apartments, that's our spot. And Tiffany found out what a membership would cost, if I may share, and the next day had a check and was handing it to Shelly saying, we're in, because now we have a place. And I think that's one of the biggest drawbacks. There have been, like Dan said, smaller groups, combos and whatnot, jazz teams we called them, but we never had a venue. We never had a standing place where we could practice, where we could perform, where we could host. And now it's opening up with the Larimar.
Yeah.
We got Phillips Auditorium. Yeah. I mean, it's just, and we're starting to branch out. Yeah. So I think it's a combination of the time was right. There was other, like Dan said too, people tried to start it, the big band, the Fort Dodge Big Band, and it just didn't take off. I literally was roofing a house and missed a rehearsal, and that was unfortunately the only rehearsal one of those groups ever had. I thought, I'll catch the next one. There never was another rehearsal. So
it's because you missed it.
I guess so.
Yeah, you were an integral part.
Just went down.
Absolutely. It's crazy to think about like the venue disparities. So like unless you're playing in a bar, basically, there's not really a next level unless you go to like a school auditorium, and even then it's like, well, there needs to be something, in between like an arena and a bar, and those kind of venues in small towns, like I'm starting to see a little bit of a resurgence. They're coming back. There's places like in Des Moines where they're kind of starting to close down a few of those places, like Vaudeville Muse over COVID and Gas Lamp closed, things like that. They're kind of poking at Woolies a little bit right now with noise ordinance stuff. That happened as well to Valor Ballroom. So these like ballroom to auditorium sized places, like you said, they just like kind of didn't exist, and you have to have a place like that because you can't just be like, we're all going to Shiny Top to practice this Tuesday. You can't just like barge in there and be like, oh hey, there's 40 of us or whatever. I mean, so
It's true. And we've mentioned several times now, as we've talked about how there is a place for these different venues in town. There is a niche for something. Everybody's got their pros, everybody's got their cons.
Absolutely.
But I think Fort Dodge as a whole, as you mentioned with Phillips and the Larimar, is starting to fill those gaps for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, again, I think it may be just like the changing of the times. I think COVID kind of started something, and people were like, "We want to get out now." You know, we've been in long enough, and I know it's been almost 5 years, but I mean, would you guys agree that now there's like almost seems like more stuff to do than there ever was, when kind of before that it was kind of just like do, you know, just like kind of sort of stuff to do sometimes. I don't know.
Yes
maybe?
and no. I mean, you know, our whole community calendar.
Yeah.
It was pre-COVID. It was that 60 on average 60 events per month.
So we're back.
So then about 1 year after, 2 year after, then it was okay. Now we're at 20, you know, 15 to 20 events per month, and now we're back up to that 60 to 70 events per month. So I mean, it could just be that this town is magical sized enough to need venues like that, where in other towns it might be too expensive just to keep them around. You know, I mean that could be the thing too. Who knows? So. Another question that I had was, and maybe there aren't any, but are there challenges for your organization right now? Is there help that you're needing from the community? Are you looking for volunteers? What do you need?
I don't know that we really need anything. We're pretty self-sustained. The only thing is our sound system right now comes from Galen, who brings it all the way. I mean, 3 hours every time we perform. Plus Galen, not to throw out his age, but he's nearing 80, right?
Oh, he's
over 80. And he's bringing all the sound equipment, unloading it, putting it up, you know, all of that good stuff.
Which is now changing at Phillips.
Yay.
Because we just installed a $40,000 sound system.
Nice.
So
that was our main challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, we don't have a challenge. I mean, we bring all of our band brings our charts, our book, if you will. That's what, you know, everybody calls it. Our book is our own. Everybody brings the charts. We play, we get the band together, we rehearse, we go perform, and that's it.
Nice.
So my challenge is just getting everybody together. But that's not as hard as it sounds, actually. So, I mean, sometimes it is, but...
I know it is.
I do a lot of desk time. But
yeah, I heard you say most of the people are like professional musicians, or like, you know, are most of them educators too, or like how do you? I guess the thing is, sometimes with bands, it's like they treat rehearsal like practice. I guess if you want to like go down that route, where they just show up and they're like, I'll just learn as everybody else plays, and it's like practice at home, and then the rehearsal is just like, let's run through it a couple times when we got it. You know, it might as well be that instead. Is there ever any like obstacles with that, or is everybody usually come well prepared?
Our band is made up of, you know, 98% band directors.
Okay.
You know, we have a couple people that work in the music industry at like Reman's or whatever, and we have one person that just enjoys music and works at a prison. So everybody knows that we have a hard book. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that they have to practice at home, and every single person on that stage does. I mean, I would say most of them do before they get to rehearsal. Mm-hmm. If there's a chart that we can't get, everybody's in the woodshed doing it. And then we come to rehearsal and we run those specific parts, and it works, it clicks. And if there's a chart we can't get right away, it does take 3 or 4 times. I mean, we've sat and gotten pissy with each other over some charts in rehearsal. Like, we got to do this, we have to do that, no, we have to do this. And that's, you know, one of the coolest things is we're all professionals.
Yes.
One of the coolest things is most of us are music educators.
Yes.
And we know how to teach their stuff.
Oh, that's true.
But that's also one of the hardest things, because
Yes.
we have a band made up of 21 people that know how to teach it and know how to play it.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can't come to a consensus. So we just leave it, come back the next time, and it's fixed.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so it's one of the best things about this band, and it's why we pick the players that we pick.
Yeah.
I know one of the questions you shot out at us was, are there subs? Yeah, there are subs, but we're really careful about who we put on that sub list. We want a certain type of person to play in our band as well.
Yeah.
And it's not one of those people that's better than anybody else. Mm-hmm. It's a humble person that goes to the woodshed and practices, mm-hmm. and is not arrogant about their abilities. Not.
You said a Humboldt person?
Humble.
Excuse me. Humboldt person.
That's in the 515.
Only a couple of us from Humboldt, right? Yeah.
Hey, I mean, I'm
it's
from
still
Humboldt.
in the 515. It counts. So, I guess, you know, it's a cool group.
Shout out
it
to
works.
like Mike Giles is a sax player and a wonderful teacher down at Iowa State University. He's played in the band.
Yeah.
And he would like to play more regular when his schedule allows.
Yeah.
Because he likes the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's a shout out that the band has something really cool.
Yeah.
It's not a bunch of egos.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely something too. It's I'm sure you guys all have the benefit too, being educators, where like sight reading might be a little easier for you than others, so you might be able to like pick up a piece of music and kind of be like, okay, this is how it goes. I just have to replicate that now. Whereas other people, like let's say myself, I can read sheet music and play a trumpet, but it would probably take me hours to perfect a piece, So like you guys probably have the benefit of
it's fun too, because if you want to be better, you surround yourself with people better than you. And
yes.
I think we're into that groove too, where if I throw a brand new brass band chart at the band, we're all, brass band is new.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all old school jazzers, so when we throw a chart like that and we are serious and we're, gung-ho on getting it learned, we better ourselves through what we do as well. So it's not that we can already do it. We choose to do it, and then we choose to pick the harder stuff that actually makes us better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, we've done this for 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, and we still want to be better at it. So
yeah, I mean, along with the no egos thing, if you want to be better, you play with people who are better than you. And I feel like that's something where it's like everybody there probably has a strength that maybe somebody else, it might be their weakness. So you can kind of lean on them or pick from them and be like, I need to get better at this because this person's better at this. So I might need to try a little harder at doing this, and therefore improving themselves, That's beautiful.
I would imagine it's also time efficiency too.
Ooh, yeah.
Because all of these people, well, I don't know everyone in the 515 Big Band, but my impression is that everyone is extremely busy.
Yes.
And wants to make the most use of their time.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
rehearsals have to be productive. And
did we even say how many
get that
people
done.
are in the 515 Big Band?
right around 20.
20.
17, 18, 19, depending on what instrumentation we want. If we ask Jeremy to come in and play a feature or two, that adds another person. But we're sitting usually about 18, 19, 20, somewhere in there.
Wow, that's a lot of people. Eat your heart out, Slipknot.
yeah.
We got 9. Come on, get out of here.
Well, I'm not going to speak for you, but I would like to say that maybe one of the things that you want to encourage from people is to attend.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. One of the challenges is acquiring an audience.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we have a following.
We do.
We have people that will come to the concerts, and depending on what time of year and what's going on, some of the attendance is a little larger, and some of it gets a little slim. But we do have people, like we just played at Humboldt, and I saw our Fort Dodge audience there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And I also was going to say one of the advantages, things I like about this particular big band, is that we do rehearse, and we have the books, we have the music that we can take home and practice. We've all played in big bands where you go, and the music's there, and it stays there. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's all reading.
Yep.
And I will admit that I have taken pictures of music that I got to practice before the next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense because, no matter how good you are at sight reading, or playing by ear or whatever, you're probably still not perfect. I don't think anybody's perfect. So.
No, you're right.
But that's part of the art, too.
Yeah. I mean, that's half the fun, just kind of doing that. Yeah. Absolutely. Did you have another question on the docket here?
Focused with that, with the organization. Talk a little bit about your schedule for this school year, what you have coming up, and then we're going to talk about each one of you.
Oh, okay.
Separately.
So our goal, Paul, get ready. Our goal was to have a once-a-month performance. And, like Paul said, we kind of fell in with the Fort Dodge Fine Arts and Phillips Auditorium, so we really like to have as many performances as we can in Phillips. Right now, this next Sunday, we actually perform at the Larimar in the afternoon. This fall, we're kind of staying away from Phillips because Comedia is in Phillips, so there are sets everywhere, and we absolutely love that we can have so much stuff going on, and we want to respect that. So we are going to the Larimar. And then we have a performance at Humboldt High School again in the fall. And then we're actually going down To Denison. Sorry, I forgot town. Wow. Yeah, we're going down to Denison the day after we perform in Humboldt. Again, Paul mentioned that we're getting out there just a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then we're back home in Fort Dodge, but at the Larimar for our Christmas show.
Cool.
December 8th, yep. And then everything after that is at Phillips. And again, it's once a month. I think April we have 2 performances. I don't have my schedule right in front of us, but yeah, we're out there. We post on Facebook. We post on all of our personal Facebooks, plus the 515 Facebook page, plus the Fort Dodge Fine Arts pushes it out, and we have students that put out posters all over Fort Dodge and Humboldt, and we send those out to the gang as well. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
As a nonprofit, you need to take advantage of those PSAs for radio too. I think that's the next thing in year 2. Like blast it.
Yeah, might as well. I mean, being a nonprofit for sure. I will definitely also put links to the social media down below. So if anybody's looking for the Facebook or anything, just scroll down and give it a click. It's going to be real easy for you.
Real easy.
Yeah, it's all about making it easy. You don't even have to type it in. You don't have to search for it. Is this the right one? Is not that there's more than 1515 big bands,
right?
But
but all the dates through May are on the Fort Dodge Fine Arts community calendar as well, so people can plan ahead for those things.
Absolutely.
And then I also wanted to talk, and I want to keep it kind of Fort Dodge specific for each of you, but talk a little bit about your experience in the arts, what different organizations you guys have been involved with. Let's just start there, and then I think this will drift off.
If we let Dan go first, we can all take a restroom break.
Exactly. He'll handle the rest of the show.
I do have one last thing to say about 515, and that is the educator's perspective.
Oh, yes.
Because it's an education jazz band, meaning we will go work with high schools. We'll work with anyone that's interested. And I love the fact that on a program, we cover all the different periods and genres of jazz. So it's not just, it's a big band. No, there's more going on. We'll do big band arrangements of other charts. And I love learning about the facts behind it. So it's not just, we're playing Glenn Miller. No, Glenn Miller is one of the key components, but you come to a 515 concert and you'll walk away going, man, I learned something.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they share that with the audience as well.
Yeah, in between every song, one of us, actually, we are the 3 that talk during the concerts. I usually send out, Dan, you're talking about this one, Paul, you're talking about this, I'll introduce this, and we introduce most of the songs and we let them know the history, what genre or what era of jazz it came from, all of the good stuff behind the music too. So
that's actually really cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
I think I'd enjoy that just as much as listening to the music, honestly. Like, I mean, maybe that's kind of nerdy of me, but it's. Or the other thing is, like, someone might just be like, all country's country, all blues is blues, all jazz is jazz, all rock is rock. It's like, well, not quite,
There's a reflection on the social condition of the times, and there's we played the 920 special, which everybody thinks is about a train, but actually it's the time that it was recorded in the morning because they could snag, it was Count Basie, and they were rolling through Chicago, and they got Coleman Hawkins after he went to Europe, and they put him on the album because they knew it would sell. And all that history comes to life. It's like, I'm not just playing notes, I'm playing the notes that Coleman Hawkins played. And it comes to life. We're a living time capsule of art.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Archive.
It is. And to be honest with you, and I know I'm young and ignorant when it comes to some of this stuff, but there's times where I'm looking up a piece of music because I don't know the history behind it. And I learn a ton. And, Dan, our historian, when he speaks, we learn on the stage as well, just like everybody else in the audience. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good ad.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
Had to get that in there.
Forgot about that.
That's actually great. Like I said, that would be something I think if I knew I was going to somewhere where they were playing, let's just say covers, and they were doing it that in depth, I'd be more interested almost. It's like an immersive night with the 515 big band,
Just, immersive night.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a title for a concert.
There you go.
I like that.
All right. Or make it a dinner theater
and
thing.
And then we give an exit exam afterwards.
But the trombone section's a little subversive.
Oh, jeez. Here we go.
Oh, my gosh.
He's just getting warmed up, too. You know that.
Exactly.
So, Paul, let's start with you.
Okay.
Community area involvement, different nonprofits, organizations in the area. In the last, not your whole life. But
well, it started when I was in diapers. But the cool thing is, my dad was a musician in town, and we had a piano and organ business just up the street, part of Mid-Bell Music, and growing up in Fort Dodge, I hate to admit this, but there's a lot of parts of Fort Dodge and the arts that I didn't know about until I graduated from high school, went away, taught a few years, and then got back and went, we have a musical theater troupe? Mom would take us down to Stars Over Visha in Ames. Yeah. And I'm from Dayton, so I just live 25 miles away. And strangely, so many people have no clue. They don't even know that I'm a band director at Iowa Central Community College. And then you go, yeah, I do that. Oh, you work there? Yep. You play in that band? Yep. There's still some people that don't know I'm in some bands, but that's an inside joke and kind of funny. I'm the fifth Beatle in a quintet, by the way.
Oh, Jive For Five.
Jive For Five.
Love
yep.
it,
Which.
love it.
Go ahead.
Keep going.
No, you can slam me. I'm used to it.
No,
Did you just edit yourself?
I kept my mouth shut.
Let me get the beep. Yeah. So yeah, member of the Karl King Band. Started that right after I graduated high school, and then a big part of my experience as a musician was actually playing for a summer with the State Fair Singers and Jazz Band, which is defunct. And then a few years later, getting the opportunity to direct the jazz band of that group for 4 summers. By then, it was renamed the Celebration Iowa Singers and Jazz Band. It was based out of Luther College. There was a summer of '99, 25 years ago, that I played in a band at Valley Fair in Shakopee, Minnesota. And that's the closest I would say I came to being a professional, everyday, do-your-job type musician. And it's grueling. You understand the output it takes to do that every day, day in, day out, and still come back and do it the next day. Because so many younger performers will give 110% and be spent, and they can't function for the next week of their lives. They can't even think. And I witnessed that at the college level, too. It's like, okay, you still have to get up in the morning and put your shoes on and go to work. Okay. So there's a level of consistency you strive for with that. In Fort Dodge, yeah, playing Jive For Five has kind of been, sometimes we discover it's a better to book us with other groups, whether it's the Fort Dodge Symphony or playing along with the Choral Society. We've played along with Sunshine Singers when they were around. Dare I say, we've done some of our own things, and we don't get a big crowd, and it's almost like, oh, I guess we're not as popular as we thought.
Hey, we've all experienced that.
Oh,
yeah. Yes. And then there's also the shout out, regardless of the size of the audience, and 515, you know what, we're going to play. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter if there's 2 people or 200 people or 2,000 people. And that's a life experience I've learned too, where like, I'm going to bring my A game no matter what and do the best job I can. And those that are there, they're going to get something. And those that aren't there, dare I say, screw them, or they missed out or whatever. But
right.
Yeah. That didn't
There's
really
more
answer your
you're leaving
question,
out.
But, sorry?
Pits. St. Ed's Pit.
Oh, you're going to bring that one up. Yeah, I've played in Fort Dodge High School's musical pit as a ringer, I guess, and St. Edmund, especially the epic Music Man pit that Shelly was sitting directly behind me, and we had Taco Tico between shows, and I didn't quite make it through.
He's going to do it.
Till there was puke on my shoes.
He did it.
We'll put it that way.
Yep. It was right before the reprise of 76 Trombones.
Yep. Blackout, and I had to crawl out because it was already all over me and my horn.
Well, he had trouble.
I had a lot of trouble.
He had trouble.
Yeah.
Is this the
Thanks,
second?
Shelly.
Is this the second FDT podcast in a row we're talking about someone possibly throwing up?
I did.
It is.
I did.
Okay,
but he definitely did. It was oozing towards my electrical cords of my keyboard. And I'm like, I'm going to have to whistle the bow music.
Oh my God! This FDT poop story is brought to you by Shiny Top. Like, what are we talking about here, people? Come on.
So now, though, you never play without a bucket.
Some type of puke bag around.
Really?
Yes.
Well, let me ask: do you get nervous playing, or is that something?
Not at all.
No,
it was
so
just
it's
bad Tico.
It was just.
And if anything, it's because I talk too much, and I probably needed to use the restroom between shows. So a baseline rule. I'm going to share this, whether it's appropriate or not. It's called a PSP.
Okay.
It's a pre-show poop.
A pre-show poop.
Okay.
And sometimes it's just a pre-show pee. But man, you don't eat much. I shouldn't eat before I play, and I know that. But you know, you got a couple hours in between, so you're like, I can eat this. And I wasn't the only one that night that had some bad. And I'm not putting down the restaurant I already mentioned.
Just the timing and the day.
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
And the smell.
Thanks, Shelly.
Oh my gosh! So we got a
And
great.
that's why the 515 has a no drink, no food before performing policy.
It's strict.
It's very strict.
And Comedia Musica Players.
Yeah.
You've played in their pit for
Yep,
several
played with Comedia.
years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
The four of us have actually done
Yeah, the last
several
huge gigs.
together now.
Yeah, whatever. Dare I call myself a musical whore, but I will go where the gigs are, and that's actually what I call myself
It's a
sometimes.
utility player.
I'm a utility brass guy.
See? That's fine.
Yes.
That's right.
Utility bone.
I think some of that is like not saying no to any. I mean, you just basically say yes if anyone's like, "I need you to play this." Like, my schedule's free. Let's do it. Like
Yeah.
I think it's admirable because I try to do that to some extent when people say, "Do you want to play this gig?" And I always just say yes, and then send me the set list. And then sometimes I'm like, "Yee!" Like, oh, I probably should have said send me the set list first, but.
You'll learn.
But still, it's fun. It's fun. It's a challenge. It gets you outside of your box, and you learn more that way.
It justifies the hours of practicing
Yeah.
because a lot of it is I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it because I've done it 100 times before.
Yeah.
And to my college students, but even to my college peers, they're out partying and doing stupid things, and it's like, no, I spent a lot of nights closing down. I got to know all the custodians at the music building.
Yeah.
Because they'd scare each other to see me, but like, how you doing tonight, Bob? Good to see you, Paul. I mean,
That doesn't surprise me.
Still there. Still there practicing.
So one of you can go next, and I think share your involvement, but also maybe your most embarrassing story.
Yeah, top that.
I don't know that we can top that. I don't. Do you
He
wanna
just
go?
puts
Do you
the
want me
mic
to
down.
go?
He's like, I'm done. I did
Ladies
it.
first. Okay, so I've done some playing and I've done some teaching. I'm one of the youngest members of the group. I've been in education. This is my 21st year. So
Okay.
the last 4 have been down in north central Iowa. The rest were up in northwest Iowa. I taught high school for a long time, and then I was professor at BVU for 3 years, and then they kind of shut down the music department a little bit. So then I moved down here. I've been concert band, jazz band, marching band, all of that good stuff. Then we start playing, right? So, Dan mentioned that there's a couple big bands up at the lakes. I'm in the Dick Bauman big band with these 2 yahoos up there as well. I played up at the Reggie Shive big band up in Sioux City. A lot of orchestras like the Al Welch Orchestra and a couple other ones that we've played at, here and there. I do a lot of subbing, like for the Karl King Band down here. I sub. We play every Monday night at the lakes, and it's really hard to play every Sunday night and every Monday night for a person with a young family, and I have 2 young kids at home. So we try to pick our times when we go play. What else? Oh, Comedia. We've done Comedia a few times. I've been so when you're new to the area, the hard part is you have to be asked to be in the groups, or you have to wait for a time to open for you, and that's a hard patience thing. Like waiting and waiting and waiting for a spot to open up for you is hard. So I was extremely thrilled when
someone has to
Comedia-
die before you get into
That's
some
so
of the groups.
true. That's so true. So when you asked me about being the utility player for the sax line, I really love my tenor sax a lot. It's the horn I started out on in jazz, and I've had to keep it in the case for numerous years, which I love playing alto too, and it's fine. I love leading the group, but tenor is my love, and right now my spots are filled, and my spots are filled in many of the bands we play at. So just waiting, doing what I'm doing right now, and I think that's it. Did I miss anything?
You play several instruments with Comedia. You're always switching.
Yep, I do. In Comedia, I play clarinet and flute and anything that needs to be covered.
And to your credit, I'm sorry, I'm going to give you a compliment. Your flute skills, last year specifically for Seussical, just kept getting better because you had so much flute work. And it was like, oh boy. And then
I know that went weird.
Okay, I didn't mean it that way, but it just dang, go Tiff.
we're getting there.
Yeah. I do want to say there was one parallel story between you guys, and that's basically having a work-life balance. I mean,
it's hard.
I mean, you could dump everything you have into this music, which it seems like you guys already do with how much you do, but like you still find time to be yourself outside of music and have a family or spend time with, people you care about, or to even just rest yourself to come back the next day, to be able to go to work and do it all over again. That's not always an easy task, or it's not an easy balance to find.
I can speak wholeheartedly for that. Moving down here, I moved and I was obviously still band directing, right? So I was swinging my arms, absolutely loving it. It was who I was for the first 20 years of my career. And then we had some family circumstances, and being a band director in a 3A school, you're there at 6 a.m. for jazz band rehearsal. You go all the way through until 10 p.m. after pep band. And I was missing my kids' things. Like, I wasn't being able to be a parent. So the hardest point in my life was having to give up being a band director. I'm moving on to administration now. But you kind of lose who you are for a hot second there. And that's me being pissed about not being able to play was that moment. Putting my band directing baton down. But then picking up this band helped a ton. And it is who we are. Music is who every single one of us are, but we are also parents, and we are also brothers and sisters, and we are also all of that other stuff. We just have to remember that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult finding that. I mean, I have found it's difficult with having some sort of balance between all that stuff. It's hard not to want to go gung-ho into something you love, but you just have to remember there's other things in life, whether it be your job or a family or loved ones or anything. That's one reason I don't own a dog and I have a cat, because I can just let the cat outside and it can do cat stuff. And when I come home at night, it's there, except for recently it was not the case. But it freaked me out a little bit. But at the same time, I can't have a dog, because it's like, what if I'm gone all day? I feel so bad. What do I do? Just feed it and then go to bed? Like, that's not no life for a dog. I got to find the balance myself too. And that's, where sometimes you have to sacrifice things in life for this a little bit. But,
I also think when you can combine your hobbies with your job into something that you love, I mean, it makes it a lot easier.
Yes, that whole you don't ever feel like you're working a day in your life if you're doing your hobby.
Yeah, that's
and to be honest with you,
I still feel like I work.
To be honest with you, we're all waiting to get to that point in life where Dan is at, where we can pick whatever we want to pick. We can direct Comedia, we can play this, or we can sit and read about jazz, and we can teach when we want to teach and play when we want to play, and that really would be the best gig.
That sounds cool.
I know, right?
Absolutely.
You're not getting away with not telling us your most embarrassing performance story. And then Dan, you're up. Get ready.
I don't have one.
Oh, come on.
It's just been all sunshine and rainbows the whole time.
Every performing has only been perfect.
Well, no, but I don't. Okay, so it's not performing though. I don't have embarrassing moments. Like, I've never puked. I've never fallen on the stage, but I have. I coach for a long time as well, and there's some embarrassing moments. But so. There was one practice where it had rained out, and I had told the girls, make sure you have your cleats. If you don't have your cleats, you're going to be flying all over in the sand, right? So we did a drill, and I was one of those coaches that participated in the drills with the girls sometimes as well. So it was a drill where you hit the ball and you run as fast as you can, and we see how many bases you get, right? Okay, so the sand was slippery. And I hit the ball, and it was an awesome hit over the center fielder, right? So I thought I was still booking it. So I went around first base, and I didn't have my cleats on.
Of course.
Because I was the coach who needs cleats, right?
Yep.
And I biffed it on the base and went,
oofed.
Yeah, and then got up with my shorts around my ankles in front of my entire softball team.
So there it is. There it is.
There's the story.
So no embarrassing moments on the performance stage, just in the coaching room.
Oh, wow.
Lucky.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. My girls didn't think so.
I mean, that's pretty good. We'll accept
Take that. Okay.
That's good. Well.
All right, Mr. Cassady.
Here we go.
Well, these are both hard to follow. Okay, so Shelly, you mentioned include your nonprofit.
That was
so
one of the things.
I'm a teacher and a musician, so everything's nonprofit.
Okay, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And you're married, and you have kids. There's no profit.
But that brings in this balance thing. I've had outstanding support from my family, my wife and kids, and now grandkids, and trying to balance everything and doing the stuff you love. And then the thing about us with 515 and everything is that we're following a passion that we have. We're not doing it for the. I'll speak for myself. I'm not doing it for the money.
None of us are.
I'm doing it because I really love to make music with good people, and again, just to back up with 515, getting the right players is one thing, but then there's a certain chemistry between people that has to be there in order to make it smooth and enjoyable. Because I think we've all worked with musicians that we didn't like. At least I have. Okay, but so the chemistry and thing is really important. But I mentioned when I moved here, Tiffany said you got to wait for people to leave or for a chair to open up. I was really lucky when I moved here because there was opening in the Fort Dodge Big Band. There was an opening in the Fort Dodge Civic Glee Club Orchestra. There was an opening in the Fort Dodge Symphony. There's an opening of the Karl King Municipal Band. So I just happened to get here at the right time to do those types of things. And so I was in all those groups, and I was teaching I started at Fort Dodge Senior High School, and then eventually I went to Iowa Central Community College, and then I went to St. Edmund High School, then I retired, moved away for 5 years, went to Kirkwood, came back.
That was a long 5 years for the Fort Dodge community, by the way.
Well, he had completed the Triple Crown at that time. I bet he thought I can't do anything else.
But that's not all. I came back, and I went back to St. Edmund. And then Tiff called me to see if I wanted to come over to Buena Vista University to help out, and I did that. Yeah. And I guess I kept on retiring and not retiring and just going back and forth. Right now, I'm pretty close to being retired. I still have a foot in music education. Yeah. I sub for my daughter. She's the band director at Southeast Valley in Gowrie, and that's a big kick for me because I know what my daughter's doing there, and she's awesome, and I'm just trying to help her, and I keep telling myself when I'm subbing, and I did a long-term sub for her when she was pregnant, or when she gave birth to our youngest granddaughter. I kept on telling myself, no, this is not your program, because I would start to turn things a little bit. I said, no, I better check with Megan first. But anyway, I'm doing some subbing. I do private teaching. We all do clinics and adjudication and things like that. So that's the education part of it.
Can I ask you why you would kind of go away from teaching and then come back? And
well,
go I mean, I think the answer is probably obvious that you loved it.
Yeah, there's the same kind of passion that I was talking about, and I've always said when I left St. Edmund, and then when we moved, I was teaching at Kirkwood, but I was teaching classroom classes. I always said. And it just hit me. There's something about going into a school and being in a band room. Mm-hmm. It's my happy place. Okay? Mm-hmm. But anyway, I always love to do it, and I like to get back whenever I can. But I'm not a full-time music educator anymore. But getting back to the playing thing, I was and am working in a lot of territory dance bands that are in the area, and then there's bands from Omaha and Wisconsin that will come through Iowa, and by word of mouth, they somebody refers you, and people ask me to play, and as long as they're asking me to play, I figure I still got something going. So I'm doing that locally. I play in the Jive For Five with Paul. 515 with everybody. Lone Tree Revival, local
Yes.
rock band that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you guys are basically like a modern version of Chicago. I love
it's
it.
it's a cover band that does covers of those classic horn band things, and Jeremy Ober is very prolific and creative, and he writes some songs. And between Alex Trevino and myself, we put together the horn parts for those things.
Cool.
And it's a band that's a lot of fun. We don't work a whole lot during the winter months because we need a big room and a lot of money, or outside.
That's a larger size group, and
7-piece group,
high quality. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Again, that one's like what 9, 10, 8, 7,
7.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of people in there.
Yeah. So anyway, to sum it up, I'm living the dream.
I don't think I heard an embarrassing moment.
Okay. I've done a few Rat Pack shows.
Okay.
Sometimes they come up from Vegas and they need a horn section, and so I've done a handful of those things. Well, I was doing one in Cedar Rapids, and we had a rehearsal, and we're doing a Dean Martin tune, and it had this horn break that was just really, really difficult. I had heard it probably hundreds of times. I never tried to play it before. So in between the rehearsal and the show, I'm working it out, okay? And I'm getting, now I'm more comfortable with it. And we get to the show. And we get to that place, and I just nail it. But what I don't realize is I skipped the line down here that says 4 bars of rest.
Oh, no.
You started 4 bars early?
Yes. But I nailed it.
Okay, that's perfect.
I love it.
I love the difference in our embarrassing stories.
Right.
Yes.
Pant drop.
Dancing. Shit, I came in 4 bars late.
I know. Oh, the horror. As Paul's wiping
then I
up
threw
puke.
up.
And then I threw
And my pants came off.
And the rest of the story is told.
The story that I wish I would have had a recorder for was after Dan played with Aretha Franklin.
Oh, I was going to bring that up. I'm glad you did.
In 2015, and we had a jive rehearsal. Well, actually, we had a jive gig, which is another punchline to a joke, but Dan got to play over in Sioux City with Aretha Franklin. And at the next rehearsal, I swear to God, it was a 35-minute story of his experience, and it was amazing. And we just sat there and were in awe. Because from the rehearsal the night before to what Aretha did to Rick Ayers' trombone slide and his music, and the whole thing was just an amazing experience that I vicariously lived through thanks to Dan. And I'll even brag about him playing with Aretha Franklin to my students. Mm-hmm. It's like, I know somebody.
I love it.
How did that happen, by the way?
Yeah.
How did
it come that you were playing with Aretha?
Oh, well, Jim Oates was living in Des Moines at that time, and he lived there for a long time before he moved to Philadelphia. And he was the contractor for the horn section for the Aretha Franklin show. They were bringing the rhythm section from Las Vegas, not Las Vegas, Los Angeles.
Okay.
And so he got saxophone section. He got Justin Kaiser and Joe Morrissey on trumpet, and Rick Ayers and his brother-in-law. I can't remember his name, but he played bass trombone. And he called me, and I remember looking at my date book. I'm saying, "Oh man, I got another gig with Jive for Five."
It was 4th of July.
Yeah.
It was 4th of July, 2015.
And I remember Jim said, "I'll tell those losers you can play with them anytime."
Oh, just to Aretha.
So I called. I said, "Jim, I'll call you right back." And I called Paul and I called Tim Miller. And I said, "Listen, I got this gig with Aretha Franklin."
And I can tell you, I took your phone call on the side of the stage at Vermilion, South Dakota, because I was at the Band Director Institute. And it was almost like, What do you mean, what do you do? It's Aretha Franklin.
Yeah, come on.
We'll figure this out.
Yeah.
So that's how it all come to be.
I love it. That's awesome. That's super cool. I mean, I never thought in a million years, if somebody had told me like, oh, if you keep playing instruments, you know, like brass wind instruments, things like that, like you might play with Aretha Franklin someday, I probably would have stuck with it a little bit more instead of switching to a guitar, you know, like that's pretty freaking cool, honestly. I can say I know somebody who's played Aretha Franklin. All right, sweet.
The epic is that we still call it 2014. 2014, which is 2014, and if I'm not mistaken, it was a fanfare written specifically for Aretha. So anytime she needed a break to sit down and drink a water or whatever, the band and the piano player was the director. I'm taking Dan's story, but 2014, and all of a sudden the band just has to hit it. Your turn.
Okay, well, yeah, it was called 2014 Bows, and the year prior they used it for the end of the show where people would go crazy and they're bringing everybody out, and Aretha's doing all her last
Aretha thing,
yeah. So what they ended up doing, they used it for a kind of an overture. Not the whole thing, but they started off. And then in the middle of the show, Aretha died. She passed away just a few years after this. And but during the show, Aretha gets to a point. I mean, it's a high energy show. She has to go back and lay down for a while. So whenever that happens, 2014, that's what they say. You had to have that up, and boom, you played it. And then we were going to play it at the end, or at least part of it, but they shut out fireworks at the wrong time, so it was loud, and so the band there goes like that. We didn't play
forget it.
But the entire thing is a really cool medley of a lot of her hits and a section where a lot of us got to play solos and stuff. And we never practiced that. We just played it on the show.
That's cool. Yeah. That's really cool.
Did you meet her?
Well, Aretha was pretty distant. She this is 4th of July. She was wearing her mink coat,
Oh wow.
Hot.
But no, she was not approachable.
Okay.
That's all right. Yeah, I mean, sometimes that happens with the bigger bands.
But when she played, one of the things I enjoyed most about it, and this is not about the podcast isn't about Aretha Franklin, but she played and sang "Bridge Over Troubled Waters."
Oh, cool!
And she did that without the band. She sat at the grand piano, and I could almost touch the piano right there.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was awesome.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah, I love that story.
This is why when Dan talks, everybody shuts up
Oh yeah.
and listens. These stories are amazing.
Yeah, almost every one of us was just like, microphone. I might as well just put this thing down. Oh man.
I don't know what to say after that.
That's wild. Yeah. Well, I mean, we do have just about an hour in here recorded.
Yep.
Is there anything else we want to cover while we're here? Let me ask you that.
We've covered the basis. If there's anything else you'd like people to know about 515, or while you guys are chatting a little bit, I'll get those dates.
Okay. So just one, Paul mentioned it a little bit before that our mission is to really carry on, what jazz is, what it's all about, the background behind it. And part of that is we do teach from the stage after every or before every song. But another part of that is we do go out and work with area jazz bands, and we go out quite frequently and help them out. But also part of that is bringing those kids into us. So when you do come to a concert, all students, 5 through 18, 5 through college level are free to get in, as that's part of our mission as well. So adults do pay, and normally at our concerts, drinks are available, bars open, but students are free.
Nice. Awesome. That's cool. Check you guys out online. I'll put the social media links down below. Check out the community calendar for Dutch Fine Arts for events. Otherwise, I'm sure the events are also on your Facebook, as most events usually are.
Yeah.
All right.
And this, I'm trying to think, this will come out
November 1st.
Okay, so
that's
November 16th would be the next concert for you guys
in
at Humboldt.
Yep,
Nice.
the auditorium there.
Yep.
That's a nice
and
short
then
drive for me.
The next local one, December 8th at the Larimar. And then January 24th, back at Historic Phillips Auditorium. Although I see Dan is gone, but that's fine. It'll still be a really great. It'll still be a really great concert.
That's called bone scraps. When Dan leaves, we're all just kind of scrapping for whatever bone parts we can get left. Bone scraps. Yeah. But the gig down at Denison is part of the Crawford County. So if anybody has any connections to that part of the state, it's a good gig. Jive played it a year ago, roughly. Yeah. So we'll be in a great auditorium.
Actually, at the great auditorium. And we're actually in that auditorium at that performance. We are making a recording of that Little Does the Band Know. They will get told Thursday at rehearsal. But we are making a recording, and we are sending that recording out. It is going to numerous places, but Iowa Bandmasters Association, so that way we can get down to the conference in May and play down there. Ryan Meyer is one of our saxophone players. He sits in the sax line quite frequently. He got us the gig in Denison as in setting up all the recording and is sending it out and doing all that good stuff with it. So we will have a recording here shortly.
Super cool. Yeah, that show in Denison, that's really not too far away if you consider how far we drive for any other show. So.
Unless you have a flat tire on the way, then it takes a little longer.
Yeah, I mean,
that's for the next.
Oh, that's the next podcast. And then my question is, for a recording, what do we wear?
You still have to come dressed, Paul.
Yeah, maybe there's video.
Just bring your bucket.
Yeah, just bring the bucket.
Yeah. So in running a band with 19 other males and sometimes one female, I have learned I have to be very specific about things. What Paul needs to come dress in. He can't just come in his Speedo.
Again.
We can't, small reminders like, please don't wear white socks with your black suits, boys.
Oh my gosh.
Please make sure you have suit coats. It's fun. It really is fun. But the Speedo thing, that comes out every email. Please cover the Speedo.
I bet you thought when you were done teaching children that you were just like, I'm never going to have to say this ever again.
So, in one of the last text messages I sent out, I put in there, because I sent out that email that Shelly was just reading off of in like June or July that had every date for the season. And at the bottom it said it can be changed, hold tight or whatever. And then 2 weeks before a gig, you get 9,000 questions about what's this gig, what time. So I always say, in the previous email I sent you.
Yeah.
And then one band member was like, what's it like herding cats?
Yeah,
what's it like herding?
Exactly what it is.
It's easy. They just need friendly reminders.
You just have to be very specific.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. I mean, that is exactly what it's like, too.
It is.
Honestly,
and it's funny. It's funny.
Now that you know, I'd expect it.
Never a dull moment.
Well, I want to thank all three of you for doing this. I am excited that all three of you said yes when we were looking at doing the second episode for the podcast. I'm calling on all my friends to help get this going and just keep the chatter going.
Thanks for calling me a friend.
This is great.
Did I do? And I appreciate your commitment to your crafts, to your commitment to music, to the arts in not only our community, but far-reaching outside of that. And I just really appreciate you guys taking time to be here.
Well, and I think we owe you a thank you, too. I mean, Phillips landed in our laps at the right time. Our partnership with Fort Dodge Fine Arts landed in our, and not only our laps, but all of music in Fort Dodge, all of the arts in Fort Dodge. You're a push behind it, and that's amazing because it wouldn't be what it is without you. So
it's a hub, and I just was bragging about you this morning to some people like, well, it's part of the Fort Dodge Fine Arts, and it's some place we can all go to and get the support that we all need and want.
100%.
And it's something that other communities look at, like, oh, what can we do to be more like Fort Dodge? Why does Fort Dodge have all of these music things happening when there's 11 music things going on in one night? How in the heck does that happen? And that's how it happens.
Yeah.
So it's a great thing.
It's that symbiotic relationship between businesses, the musicians or the entertainers, and then the community. And that's exactly like you said, it's a hub. It's that perfect middle ground for everything.
We get a lot of calls from families that move into town, whether it's something mom and dad or adults are looking for, or ways their children can be involved in the community. And, the more we know, the more we can share and the more we can celebrate. And yeah, it's something I hope to continue for a long time. So thank
Awesome.
you.
Well, thank you very much to the 515 Big Band. Thank you guys for taking time out of your days for this. I want to say thanks once again to Shiny Top. Beautiful Shiny Top right here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And make sure you go down below, check out all the links for 515 Big Band, check out the links for Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association as well. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Shine on.
Thank you.